and we spoke a lot about being a female in that military school setting. Um, obviously, even though we went through the same structure, my experience was incredibly different, I would imagine, than yours. So you started out as a freshman, correct? At 14 years old?
Sophomore.
You're a sophomore. Okay.
Yeah.
So you must have been 15, or are you still 14?
I think I was 15. Yeah,
Okay.
15.
And so starting out as a sophomore in high school, going through sophomore, junior, and then senior year, well, I mean, I guess what like put that idea in your head that you're going to spend the beginning of your adolescent years at a military school, off in nowhere, New Mexico, in Roswell?
Yeah. It was actually really crazy. So, I just had like kind of a crazy upbringing going in between like my mom's house and my dad's house, like the separation. And so there's just like a lot of drama and then like a new step parent added to the
Right.
picture. And so it wasn't that I necessarily had like issues with people telling me what to do. I wasn't like a bad child or whatever, but there was just so much going on that I think my mom was like, the issues you're having at your dad's house, the issues you're having here. I just want you to be like away from that. And so my grandma actually lived in El Paso. So she was like a few hours away from Roswell. And so I wasn't like completely alone, but at the same time, like, I still felt like I needed that. I was like, that would be so cool to go to a military school and just kind of get out of this little town, because in little towns a lot, people are like, they just have this kind of standard for you. And I'm like, I just want to break outside of this. I want to get away from the town and get to see what the rest of the world is like. And it was one of the best decisions, to be honest. It was really scary, but it was probably the best decision I ever made, to be honest. So,
No, that's awesome. What do you think was like the hardest thing for you going through that at such a young age, as a female, a very young one at that, and for the people listening or watching that don't really know about the school, it's a military boarding school down in Roswell, and it starts you out, well, you can start whatever you want, but the earliest you can go right now is a freshman in high school, right? That's in between 13 and 14 years old. I heard rumors are trying to add a middle school day thing, and that's bananas to me. That is
no.
a horrible idea.
Mm-mm.
Bananas. Um, so you start out as a freshman in high school, you go through your 4 years of high school, and then you can do 2 years of junior college. And I think their age cap is like 23, 24 years old. So in theory, you could have an entire decade
Yeah.
of an age gap there, which even like as a cadet, like just looking at it, I was like, this is insane. Like that's crazy. So like what was like the biggest challenge for you like going there?
Well, when I first started, I like dealt with a lot of anxiety. It's still something I struggle with. And the number one thing I was afraid of was the PT. Because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not some hardcore person. I don't go to the gym. Like that was before I used to work out at all. And so I just dealt with anxiety in that. So because I know when they interview you, they ask you like, do you want to go to the school? Because if you say you don't want to go to the school, they're not going to let you in.
Right.
And so I actually ended up having to do the math camp because I didn't pass the math portion of the test to get in. So that was actually really awesome for me because I was able to have like a couple weeks ahead of time so I wouldn't like be fresh, fresh meat or whatever. And I kind of like had a little head start. And so like I even knew like the Goss quote. I think that's what it's called, right? The Goss quote.
Oh God,
Um,
I've thought about that in fucking years. Yeah.
Yes, I don't even remember it now, but I knew it ahead of time, and all the other rats were like, "Dang, she already knows it." And so, but I dealt with a lot of anxiety because I don't know, it's just it runs in my family, and like we would do PT in the morning, and for the first couple days, I was like feeling sick and stuff, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, can I go to the bathroom?" And like I stayed in there. Like the first two times I stayed in there and I didn't work out with everybody. Like that's how bad it was. And so that was like a big thing. And I know a lot of people struggle with like being away from family and stuff. But for some reason, I was good to go. I was like, I'm independent. I'm out here. And I was just good. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was like my main struggle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And just that was a weird thing, being away from home so early. But yeah, I feel like the more you like, because you can't really resist it, right? There's a lot of things that when you're starting out, like if the more you push back, the harder it is. And so the more you like kind of just embrace what you're doing, you get along with the people around you, your rap buddies. I feel like that makes your time like a whole lot easier there, like by a large margin. Um, yeah, I can't even remember my rat week, to be honest with you. Like we're in 2021 right now. Yeah, so coming up in this summer would have been 10 years that I started there, which is
Wow.
ridiculous. Which is ridiculous. So what's like some of the I know there's a lot of them and we have more than enough time to talk about it. Like what are the like some of the best things that came out of your experience there?
I have like a few friends that I still talk to, but like even you, like everybody that like the relationships that we build, even if we don't talk to each other for like years at a time, like we could just like pick up a conversation, just like we still are friends with that person, you know?
Yeah.
So the relationships and also just kind of like the pride that you have of being like an alumni and you actually did it, you know? And if you think about during rat week and stuff, and even when I was in summer camp, like how many people didn't even make it past the first couple weeks because it was too hard for them? And just to overcome like anxiety or stress or whatever like each individual person is going through, to be able to overcome that is just something that you can like carry with you, you know, throughout the years and stuff. And it's like a love-hate relationship when I think about it, because well, now it's more like the sweet part rather than the bittersweet, because you kind of reminisce on like the good parts. But um yeah, I don't know, like I still miss it there sometimes and like the people there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, and
same.
what I liked a lot about that like experience video that you put up is you were super real about it, right? And there's an elephant in the room when it comes to young girls going to a school like that. Parental speaking, they're unsupervised and they're around a bunch of older guys, and there's a huge thing that like nobody really talks about when you brought it up. There's a
Yeah.
lot of just unexpected attention that girls get like the second they get there.
Hmm.
So kind of like I want to get your perspective on that. Like what was that like getting so much male attention as such a young girl and then continuing your years through there?
Right. See, that was actually really crazy for me because I think wasn't the ratio like one girl to, it was either 11 guys or 20 guys. It was like a ratio
So
like
I don't
that.
think it ever got up to 20. I remember the lowest that it was when I was there was like 1 to 8, but I want to say back when like because you're just a year below me, so like when we were both going through high school, it was like yeah 1 to 11, 1 to 13 around there, which is
Right.
absolutely fucking bonkers. Like that's
It really is.
ridiculous.
But apparently the females took up like 50% of the leadership positions, which I
Right,
thought was really cool.
right,
But so when I went there, I did realize that, to be honest, I wasn't like mature enough to be like in a full-blown like relationship with anybody. But as far as like the attention and stuff, to be honest, like I think it does go to some people's heads, but then they just don't even think about it. And then when they leave, they're like, whoa, nobody likes me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how it is. But I noticed that like a lot of young girls were getting attention from like college guys. And I'm
which
like those
is
college guys.
horrible.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy, like freshman in high school and then like a college guy and stuff. And I'm like, there's really nothing I could say or do because you don't know like what's really going on. But that part was kind of sketchy. But yeah, I'm just blessed because I like did have like God too. So like I kind of had my morals set and I was like, I'm just not gonna, you know, go after all that. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how my experience was.